Okay. My name is Sara Smith-Silverman. My pronouns are she and they. I am a professor of history at American River College. Today's date is October 26th, 2023. So let's start off by establishing the basics. What's your full name? What are your pronouns? And what's your date of birth?
My name is Brian. My pronouns are he, they, it, and them. What was it?
Your date of birth.
Oh yeah, my date of birth is 2005.
Year 2005.
Yeah.
So what does that make you, 18?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me a little about yourself. What are your interests and hobbies? What do you like to do?
I like to play Minecraft with my friends a lot. My interests are animals, just creative stuff in general. I like going on walks and looking at plants.
Do you like any particular animals or animals in general?
I like pretty much all animals.
And so, would you mind, before moving on, just explaining why you want to be anonymous today?
I want to be anonymous because I live at home with family and they do not know my identity, and I don't want to make that known anytime soon.
Okay. So that's actually part of the next question. Where did you grow up and where do you live now?
I grew up in Sacramento and I live in Sacramento. Yeah.
And where do you currently attend college and what do you study?
I currently attend American River College and I'm in the STEM pathway, specifically cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity. Part-time or full-time?
Soon it will be full-time.
So can you tell me about how you identify with regard to your social identities, broadly speaking? So race, ethnicity, sexuality, gender, disabilities, religion, class, and so on.
My race, I'm Pacific Asian and white. Specifically Indian, Asian, and Fijian, yeah. And then white is just a bunch of European countries. It's like all mixed up. My class, I'm middle class. I'm a little more lucky in that regard. Let's see, my gender. I'm a trans guy. Born female at birth, and I've been identifying like that since I was 14, but I've kept it closed because safety reasons. What else?
Sexual orientation, religion, and disabilities or neurodiversity.
Oh, okay. My sexual orientation is pansexual. That just means I like everyone without any preferences. And I'm atheist. I don't really have any religion, but I do know a lot of people who do have different religion, and I don't mind that. And let's see, disabilities. I have a few disorders, like mostly anxiety based, and I also have a traumatic disorder from childhood and stuff. So yeah.
Thank you. So you talked about being pansexual and you explained what that means to you a little bit, but is there anything else you'd like to add to what it personally means to you to be pansexual?
To me, it did take me a while to figure it out because growing up, I wasn't really encouraged to figure that stuff out. So for a long time, I just I just didn't bother with that stuff, and I kind of repressed it and didn't really like anyone. I wasn't interested in anyone, quote unquote. And yeah, and then, but later on, I started learning that I can like anyone I feel like I like. So, and then I started to realize, looking back in my past, that I've liked different types of people, like girls, guys, uh, other people probably, I don't know. And then what was I gonna say? And then oh yeah, and then I started looking into it, and I was like, whoa, there's all these different sexualities. And so there was like a little journey with that. At first I thought I was asexual, and then I realized no. And then I thought I was like, this is before I realized I was a guy too. I thought I liked only girls, and then I was like, no, that doesn't sound right. And then I thought I only liked guys, so I thought I was straight. And I was like, no, that doesn't sound right. And it was like this whole confusing journey up until I realized I was a guy, and I was like, oh, okay. And then once again, I thought I was a guy who liked guys, and I was like, oh, that don't sound right. And then I finally realized, oh, duh, everyone, pansexual.
Did you feel some pressure to identify one way or the other, to say that you either just liked guys or you just liked girls? Like, did you feel pressure before you realized that you were bisexual?
Pansexual.
What did I just say?
You said bisexual.
Oh, I'm sorry. The next
okay.
question I was going to ask you about the language.
Oh, yeah.
My apologies.
It's okay. Yeah, I actually always felt pressured into liking guys because my family members always pushed that on me. So they wanted me to be like a good daughter who married a guy someday and like had kids and all that. And I was always like, no. And then, but I realized that I don't have to be that way, and I figured it out mostly through online sources and other people's experiences.
So how did you come to pansexuality? And if you want to, you don't have to answer this next question, but how would you distinguish pansexuality between and bisexuality?
I came to the conclusion of pansexuality because I realized that I didn't just like guys and girls. I realized that I don't care about the gender, since there's like a bunch out there, and I didn't really want to go into that. So I just said, I think I like everyone. So, which is pansexuality. It basically means you like people just no matter what their gender is. And then, from what I heard, bisexuality is like you like two genders specifically, or like you have a preference towards a gender. So yeah.
It's interesting because people have different understandings of what it means to be bisexual and what it means to be pansexual, and I had that slip up in part because I've interviewed a lot of students who are bisexual, but they also define their quote unquote bisexuality the same exact way you define your pansexuality, So I think it can be very individual.
Yeah.
As well.
I think it depends on the person what label they feel most comfortable with, because it does blend in a lot. But there is a small difference between the two normally.
I mean, the word bisexuality does start with bi, which implies two.
Yeah.
Though it has been redefined by a lot of people, not to just be limited to two.
Yeah, it's been redefined a lot.
Yeah.
I'm still learning myself.
So you said you identify as a trans guy, and I think in the questionnaire online you said an androgynous trans guy with regard to your gender identity and expression.
Yeah.
Do you mind elaborating on what that means to you personally?
To me personally, being an androgynous trans guy, that just means I'm a guy, but like I don't conform to the guy things society, yes. And I just dress however I feel like, and then act however I feel like, because I don't know, because I feel like it. But I'm still a guy in the end, so.
So you're just more free in terms of how you express your gender.
Yeah.
So if you would how would you distinguish between trans masculinity and cis masculinity?
I feel like with cis masculinity and trans masculinity, I don't know if there's much of a difference. I feel like they're pretty similar because both feel the need to be masculine in the end. And if they don't feel masculine, they don't feel like they're a quote unquote real man. So, but with trans masculinity, if you even slightly represent the opposite gender, like the gender you were born as, the sex you were born as, if you even slightly represent that, people will say, you're lying, you're a girl. And I think that's like the main difference. And to me, that's the only difference. While cis men, they don't get called girls just because they do something feminine. Well, they might as like a joke. Not a quote unquote joke. Yeah, they just get called like girls, sissies even. But like trans men will get called liars and attention seekers if they show anything other than macho masculinity.
That's a good point. So both cis masculine men and trans masculine men are their genders are policed. Masculinity is policed in some similar ways, but there's a really key distinction there in how that policing happens. Mm-hmm. Sort of like if you're a trans man, your gender identity is fundamentally cast like people express doubt about your identity itself, mm-hmm. rather than it being like a homophobic insult or a sexist kind of insult.
Yeah, they just full on start doubting your entire identity, and then cis guys, they just get called homophobic things, which isn't. Neither of those are really good. So,
I mean, I wonder if this is a good question, follow-up question. What do you think about, as I'm asking the question, I'm not sure myself. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the difference between trans masculinity, or what it means to be a trans man, an androgynous trans man, right? And what it means to be a trans woman, or what trans femininity means, or what the experiences are like of trans feminine people as compared to trans masculine people?
I do have trans femme friends, so maybe I can. Hold on, I need to think. The difference between trans masculinity and trans feminine.
Yeah, or you could think about trans masculinity and trans femininity, but also just trans feminine and trans masculine experience.
Well, I think trans feminine. I think that's as far as I know. I think that's when like you identify as anything relating to female, and then trans masculinity. Like when you're trans masculine, you identify anything to male, like close to male, but you don't have to be specifically male or female within that binary. It's just you feel more one than the other, but you can have a mix of both. As far as I know, trans women do have it really hard compared to trans men, because when I walk into a bathroom personally, not a lot of people question it, because I don't know why, it's just easier for me to pass for some reason. But then other people, like trans women, sometimes they get like harassed because for some reason people are like, that's a man. I hope what I'm saying doesn't sound wrong. I don't know how to word it.
Well, you're trying to be sensitive, but I think it's okay, because what you're saying is what other people say, right? This transphobia. You're you're making clear that it's not you saying that.
Yeah. I'm not saying that.
Don't worry.
Yeah. I think it doesn't matter what you look like. What you identify as is what you identify as. But yeah, there's a lot of harassment towards trans women specifically. And they get from both genders too. Both cisgenders. They get harassment from men, saying they're like girly boys or whatever, and they get like if they go into the men's restroom, they get harassed because they're dressed like a woman, quote unquote woman, and they're seeing like, I don't know how to describe it. Hold on. They get harassed like how women get harassed, kind of by men. That's what I'm trying to say. While trans men, don't get that much harassment.
Yeah, because of sexism.
Yeah.
Misogyny, trans women.
Oh yeah, misogyny. That's what it's called. Yeah, misogyny and sexism.
I guess the way that trans women often experience what's called trans misogyny, right, which is a heightened form of misogyny and a trans-specific form of misogyny.
Yeah.
That can be
violent even.
Yeah, they have a lot of violence committed against them, more so than a trans man, because they're seen. I think they do see them as a woman, but then they don't see them as women at the same time, which just makes them angrier, and so people like get harsher on them because they don't understand, and they're also stupid.
Yeah, they don't understand the trans experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Operating from bias and bigotry.
Yeah, bigotry. Sorry, bigots.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. That's a better word. Yeah,
There's
exactly.
overlap between the words too. Okay, anyway.
Yeah.
So, can you talk more about your pronouns? Why you use the pronouns that you do, and why they're important to you?
Oh yeah. So I did list out a bunch of pronouns, but I mostly use he, they for simplicity's sake. I settled on he, they because there was a point where I thought I was non-binary, but then I was like, that don't feel right. And I was a guy, and then I switched between the two a bunch, and then I decided I think I'm a guy, but also they, them is kind of cool. So I decided to settle on he, they, and then the other pronouns didn't come until later. I was like, it would be kind of cool if I were like called an it. I don't know why. It just felt right. And so I was okay with that. And then I discovered there's like a whole array of pronouns. So I decided, oh, these sound also cool. So why not? Like, who wouldn't want to, like, being called a Zizan? That's really cool. I don't know why. It's like some alien thing. But yeah, I only use those for people who like understand and don't mind calling me those. But for people who might not understand as much and who might get confused, I just say he, they.
So would you mind explaining a little bit more about your use of the gender neutral pronouns as somebody who identifies as a trans guy? Just to help people understand that more.
Oh yeah. I use gender neutral pronouns sometimes because sometimes I am a trans guy, but sometimes I feel like a little more androgynous, but not like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I don't want to be really feminine, so I like get stuck in between sometimes, and then I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. What was the question again?
Sorry.
Well, it's okay. We could also move on. I think. I lost my train of thought now. I think what's important is to understand that, right, people have a feeling about what feels right.
Oh yeah, it's a feeling. That's why I'm having such a hard time explaining it and explaining everything in general because it's just a feeling. It just feels right, and I don't know why, but it does.
Um, so, under what circumstances do you share your pronouns?
I only share my pronouns if I know that people that like if there's a person that I meet, I get to know them a little, and if they're okay with trans people, I tell them my pronouns. If I feel a little off, I just pretend I'm a cis girl. So yeah, but sometimes I'm unsure, so I just pretend to be a cis girl or a cis guy. Sometimes I pretend to be that too, and then if they do eventually show one way whether they're okay with trans people or not, I'll tell them I'll just pretend being cis, basically. I'll continue pretending to be cis, just for safety reasons.
For safety reasons.
Yeah.
What are you afraid might happen if somebody doesn't show that they are understanding of the trans experience and you? Yeah. So what do you what are you afraid? What are you afraid? What are you afraid of? What do you think might happen?
I'm afraid of being called names, being yelled at, being uh, violently harassed, basically. I'm afraid that they could probably do something really bad if I tell them. Yeah. Because it's not uncommon for trans people to get murdered, so yeah. I have to be extra cautious because of that.
So have you had experiences of people saying things to you or threatening you in some way?
No, not yet, because I've been really, really careful with who I share that with. But I have heard things like from people I know, they have said transphobic things before, like my family members. One of my family members, like we were watching this show on TV about you know those robot arenas where they have robots fight and stuff?
No, that's something
No?
I'm a little clueless about, but that's okay.
Okay. Well, there's a show where these robots fight in an arena, and then there's teams that build the robots. And so, in one of the teams, there was a trans woman, and while we were watching that, one of my family members was like, "Not a man," and so I was like, "Oh, I think that's a woman." And they were like, "That's a man." So that's definitely one of the things I get nervous over. And then I also hear people say, "Oh, they're trans for attention. Oh, they need to fix themselves. They need to repent or whatever." All those things, or like full on, they need to die, which is not fun. I've heard all these things from different people, and it just causes me to like shrivel up in a little hole and hide.
So how does it feel when you have to pretend to be cis?
It
For
feels
safety.
it feels really bad. I hate it a lot. Um, I every day, every time I get called a girl, I'm like, oh, I mean, I am a little numb to it because I've been living like that for the past 18 years, but it does hurt a lot. And sorry, I didn't think I would cry. What the heck? And
If you need to pause, let me know.
no. It hurts a lot. And I can't really get any help, and I'm too scared to. I can't really leave, unfortunately. So I'm just kind of stuck like this until I know I can leave, which is who knows how long because the economy is all messed up and stuff. It just feels really, really awful. I just wish I could be myself. And if I didn't have resources like a GSA club to be in, then I don't I think I would just be absolutely miserable and I wouldn't be as stable as I am. Oh, did you want me to continue?
Let me see.
Yeah, did I cut you off? Is there anything else you want to say about that?
I think I did have something, but I completely forgot. What was it? Oh wait, no, I remember. I have told my friends before, friends I used to have. I'm not friends with them anymore, for unrelated reasons. But I told them that I was trans, and they were okay with it. Actually, they accepted me, but they kept accidentally messing up, and they kept calling me my old name and my old pronouns, and they didn't. They always apologized and corrected, but it felt awful. It felt so bad. I was like, do I not pass as a guy, or is it my voice? And then I have been told by someone before it's the voice. Like they were questioning whether I was a guy or a girl, and they said it's the voice that threw me off, and I was just like, oh my god. It just felt so bad. And sometimes I hear my own voice, even though I try to lower it. I hear my own voice in a recording, and I sound like a little girl. I sound like a little girl, and I'm like, oh no. Yeah, it doesn't feel good at all.
Well, I have to say, your voice sounds quite deep to me.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. Hopefully someday I can get it deeper.
Are you thinking about medical stuff at all? And you don't have to answer that question if you don't want to.
No, I have thought about medical stuff. I thought about top surgery at least. And I have considered hormones, but I'm unsure. Because personally, in my family, balding runs in it, and I don't want that. But at the same time, maybe I can take enough to make my voice deeper, which would be nice. So, yeah, I have considered that stuff.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate outcome.
Yeah, I don't want to be bald. I'd rather keep my hair.
So how do you think, you talked about your friends being pretty accepting of you being trans, but then just making mistakes repeatedly. Why do you think they made mistakes repeatedly in ways, I guess the question is more like, it doesn't have to do with you or your voice, but I feel like it more has to do with people's understanding and their effort, right, that they put into to not messing up when it comes to people's dead names and people's pronouns. So I guess, I don't know what the question is, but maybe it's, what do you think people can do to do a better job at not messing up?
I think they should probably think a little longer before speaking. Like, if they're gonna say something that refers to, I'm gonna use myself as example. If they say something that refers to me, I would like them to think a little longer before they say it, to like try to remember that I'm a guy. So like instead of going like when they're speaking to other people and they refer to me in the sentence, I would like them to think a little longer instead of going, oh, she, and then going, my bad. I would like them to think in their head, he, and then like hopefully get it right.
It just takes, does not seem too much to put a little bit more effort in.
Yeah, not really. Yeah, it just takes a little bit more thinking, just a few more seconds of time.
And when people do make mistakes, what do you think their response should be?
I'm normally, when people make mistakes, I just accept an apology and move on, which I think is pretty good. Yeah, like just an apology, quick correction, move on. I think that's good.
Have you had the experience of people dwelling in their apology for too long?
No, not really. People normally just apologize really fast and then correct it and move on, which is, I think, is completely fine. I don't want them to like dwell and feel really guilty about it.
I ask because that's can be people's experiences where people really dwell and they apologize excessively, and then it's almost like they're focusing all of the attention on themselves in that moment, you know?
Yeah.
And then you feel like you have to comfort them. You know?
Yeah.
So it's good to just be quick about it.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't want to feel guilty because someone messed up my identity. I don't want to feel guilty that I made them feel guilty. It's just like an endless train of guilt, and that would suck.
So can you talk about your process a little bit more of figuring out your identities? I know you already did touch on it some, but yeah, if there's anything you can elaborate on and how you figured out your identities, and then maybe under like who are you out to, and how have people around you responded in general?
Okay. I'll start with the process. Think a little more before I speak so I don't stutter a bunch. Okay, so it did start when I was when I was in elementary school. I didn't know what being trans was. I didn't know anything about different genders and sexuality. I thought it was boy, girl, moi. So I thought that was it. So and then I figured out what a tomboy was in elementary school. So I went from being this girly girl, quote unquote, to realizing I don't have to be. It's okay if I'm a little rough edged. It's okay to be a little more masculine. So I always said I was a tomboy, and then I would be told, "You're not a tomboy. Don't say that. You're a girl." I was like, "Who?" And I was just really confused about it all. And so I just went with that. I just went with, okay, I'm a girl then for a few years. And then this is going to sound ridiculous, but I didn't realize girls could cut their hair until high school. Like, I literally thought it was impossible for some reason. I don't know why. It's just the way I grew up. So I always thought girls have to have long hair. But then people around me, there were girls around me cutting their hair. So it was like, that seems kind of nice. I want to do that. So I did that in high school. And then from there, COVID hit, and before COVID, I was still identifying as a girl, a cis girl. So when COVID hit, I was spending a lot of time at home. I was spending a lot of time online. And then I came across what trans people were. And I was like, huh, that's kind of cool. And at first I was like, yeah, I'm a trans ally. I'm a trans cis ally. I love trans people. And then later on, after seeing a lot of those videos and learning more about it, I was like, this kind of sounds like me. This is hitting a little too close to home. And so then I was like, maybe I am. So I tested it out. I decided to see if I would be okay with being more masculine. Before I was okay with seeing if I would be more masculine, if I was okay with that. And I started to realize I liked it. So for a long time, I after I realized I was a guy, I was like, okay, and then I was like strictly masculine guy because I didn't think there was any other way. I thought it was just feminine, masculine, feminine skirt, masculine dress pants or whatever pants, you know. So I was like that for a long time, and I dressed strictly in like shirts and jeans, and I had short hair. And my family members, they didn't like it too much, but I did it anyways, and And then after that, after identifying like that for a while, I realized that I was a little bit miserable with constricting myself that much. And I realized that this wasn't until the end of high school when I started realizing I kind of wanted to wear skirts and other feminine things. So I was like, this is weird. Does that mean I'm not trans? And then because I used to think there was only male, female, and then trans girl, trans guy, and then I learned there was more than that. And at first I was like, that's weird. And I thought, that's weird. They're fakes. They're faking. And then I learned more. I opened my mind some more and then learned there's all these genders. I don't know how many, but I'm still learning. There's a lot. And I started looking into them more. And then I kind of rolled with it and then decided maybe I don't have to be just this. I can be more than this and still be a guy. I don't have to be strictly masculine to be a guy. I don't have to be strictly just he, him. I can be he, they if I want to. I can be all these things. And so from then on, I just dressed however I like. And as long as I knew what my identity was, I didn't care as much what other people said. Unless it was like really scary. Then of course I was scared. But other than that I didn't really care.
And when you said that your family members didn't like it, what did they say things? How did that happen? Like, how did you know that your family members didn't like it, that you were dressing more masculinely?
I was told specifically to grow my hair back out. Like I was urged and pushed to grow my hair back out. I was pushed to wear dresses again and all that stuff, but I kept refusing, and I'm lucky. I got lucky because they didn't kick me out of my house for that or anything. But yeah, I got bombarded a lot about it. I was told to act like a girl, not a boy, and I still get told that now, but it's died down a little because I think they realized that I'm not gonna act like a girl, even though they don't know I'm a guy. They're at least okay with me being a tomboy, kind of. Even though I still get told to grow my hair out, I just refuse. I'm gonna be myself. I don't care. I can't not be myself. So.
And who are we talking about now? Are you talking about your parents? Do you have siblings?
Just my parents in general. I don't really have. I don't. I don't have much connection with my other family members, so it's just my parents.
And what do you think is behind their desire to try to make you more feminine? Why are they so concerned?
I think it's the way they were raised and the way it's just they're used to traditional stuff. They're used to male, female, like how I was in the beginning. Except they didn't. One of my parents, they're kind of open minded, and then one of my parents are like very, very slowly opening their mind, but not that much. Um, but they they were traditional, very traditional. Uh, but I think because of me and because of everything happening in the world, they're kind of learning that maybe it's okay a little bit. But other than that, they're still a little bit stuck behind because it's still not that no, the world is still not that open to LGBTQ plus people. And before my generation, it was like kind of closed, but still a little open, but mostly closed off, unfortunately, which is the generations they grew up in.
Do you think your parents, I mean, does it have anything to do with religion or politics, or do they define their politics in a certain way?
Um, I don't know, actually. They never mentioned religion. Um, or politics. They've never mentioned that it's a political thing. But one of my parents are Republican and really, really like Donald Trump. So maybe something ties in there. I don't know, because Donald Trump isn't the best known for liking LGBTQ plus people. So yeah.
Yeah, in general, but especially trans people.
Yeah, especially trans people.
Does the fact that one of your parents is into Donald Trump, does that make it more difficult for you to imagine coming out to them?
Oh, definitely. Like never, ever. I will never do that. Even when I move out someday, even if I get surgeries, I will never tell that parent about it. I will always be a daughter to that parent. I don't think I could ever come out to them.
So does it, the fact that you don't feel like you can come out, does it create some emotional distance?
Yeah, but also I still love that parent a lot because I don't know why. I just do. But I do keep a distance because, well, for other reasons, but also because that parent is close-minded, more close-minded. So it does cause me to distance myself a little from them.
Have you considered leaving home, moving out?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I planned to move out the second I was 18, but I wasn't able to get a job before then. Probably because I was a kid. It doesn't seem like companies want to hire kids very much. So and even now I'm still struggling to get a job. But I did mean to move out, and I still hope someday I can.
Um, so who are you out to and how have people responded?
Um, I'm out to, or I was out to a group of friends from high school, but I'm not really in contact with them anymore. I was for a while, but then I realized they weren't really good. Not because they didn't accept me, they did accept me. Uh, they just kind of said, okay, and then that was it. And then other people I'm out to, I didn't have to come out to them. I just introduced myself as Brian to them, and they accepted it because they were the Gay Straight Alliance Club, so they kind of had to. And I've told teachers, and they've just been like, okay, and then just started using that identity. They did have some slip ups though, but that's way better than less slip ups than my friends did.
In high school, did you have queer friends?
Some, yeah, but not very many. I tried to join the GSA club in my high school, but they kind of left me out. I don't know why, but they did. So I wasn't really able to get any that many queer friends.
So did it feel kind of lonely for you to be in high school and sort of be coming into your identity and not having, I mean, I guess you said you had some queer friends, but maybe you didn't have that many. Yeah.
Yeah, I did feel very lonely. And I still kind of feel lonely now too about it. I don't know why. I just feel a little left out and stuff, but it's not that bad. At least I can be out to some people. That's a start, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah, it's nice that there's the GSA.
Yeah.
And it's very active this semester. It wasn't as active previous semesters.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's like really active this semester. There's something always going on in there.
Do you hang out with them a lot?
Yeah, I do, but sometimes I can't hang out with them because of mental health reasons. I don't have the energy to, and then I kind of feel left out, and then they don't realize that I'm not there, so I get a little sad.
Their group is pretty big right now.
Yeah.
So it's a disadvantage to having a big group too.
Yeah, but they do know me. Like I'm a well-known member in that group, so.
It's hard when you are in community with other people around your own age, going through similar things.
Yeah, it's really hard.
You can be supportive to each other, but you also need support, and it
Yeah.
gets complicated. I'm not trying to excuse not being supportive.
No, I know.
It just is complicated. And also I think as you grow older, sometimes you sort of grow into understanding how to support too.
Yeah, I'm really used to supporting other people, but I don't really get that much support, and I'm kind of scared to ask for support because I'm afraid if I ask for support that I might be inconveniencing people. So I'm used to just giving support, but I don't really get any, which is why I end up feeling left out at GSA. It's just communication issues. I just need to learn how to open up more. Basically, it's not their fault. They're really nice people. Yeah, I'm just used to being so closed off and having to hide everything. So yeah.
It's
Hard to be vulnerable, especially as you're getting to know new people.
Yeah, that's really difficult. It takes me a long time to get close to people. Like I have a friend, I've known him for since middle school, and I'm still not completely open to him. Like he knows about my identities, but like I still can't be that vulnerable with him. I don't know why.
Have you been able to get help with your mental health issues?
I've gotten some help, and I've tried therapy, but no matter what I do, I can't seem to open up in therapy. So I'm kind of stuck. But I have gotten at least diagnosis and medicine and stuff. But that's unfortunately not enough.
Have you found therapists who are queer themselves or who have a specialty in serving queer people?
No, not really. All the therapists I have were, as far as I know, cis and straight. And they just specialized in kids in general, so that was pretty much it.
And do you only see therapists with a network, like in your health insurance?
Yeah, within my health insurance too.
so that can be limiting too.
Yeah, most likely.
Okay. So where do you think you find the most support and affirmation in your identities?
I feel the most support and affirmation in my identities, mostly with the friends I'm out to. Like, there are other friends I'm out to who are really accepting, not just the ones I mentioned earlier, who I'm no longer friends with, and they just act like I'm just like any other guy, and it makes me really happy. And at GSA too, I'm really happy that I can be myself and have my name said and all that stuff. And it just makes me super happy, and it gives me hope that someday I can fully be out, or like out enough, out enough at least to live a happier life than now.
Have you used the services on campus where you can add your name and your pronouns and all of that?
No, because I heard that they can put that on your mail, which I don't want because my parents would see that and then they'd be like, "Huh," and yeah, that wouldn't go well. So I've been avoiding that.
So what do you do in your classes? Do you
I normally go up to the teacher and explain the situation. I say I use a different name from what's said. I just don't want to change it because of safety reasons. Online, yeah.
and how have professors generally responded so far? Because you're in your first semester, right?
Yeah. So far it's been just okay, and then they correct it on the attendance sheet, and then they just remember and they're like, okay.
So have you had the experience of professors forgetting to use your name or misgendering you?
No, not yet. Not yet. Hopefully never.
That's good.
Yeah, it's been pretty accepting and open over at ARC so far.
So what does it feel like emotionally to have figured out your identity as a androgynous trans guy who's pansexual? Do you feel happy and empowered?
No. No. I mean, I'm glad I figured it out at such an earlier age, and I'm glad I didn't figure it out later in life, because some people unfortunately don't figure it out until much, much later, and they're like miserable their entire life up until then. But at the same time, I kind of wish I wasn't because then things would be just a lot easier. I just kind of wish I was quote unquote normal because then everything would be easier and I feel like I would be happier. But I that's just not. I can't do that, unfortunately. So yeah.
So where do you find queer joy? I know you said you find support among friends, but if you had to say where you find queer joy, where do you think you find queer joy?
I don't know. I only feel it at like when my friends call me my name and just say come. That's it. There's not really much else that brings me joy about it, unfortunately. Not yet, at least. Maybe someday.
Are you tapped into media at all? Like, do you watch things, play video games? Do you read books or, not anime, like comic books or stuff?
Like, do you have any queer media that you consume, I guess, is the question.
Oh, yeah, I do have some. And when I see it, I'm like, heck yeah. Let's go. I'm so glad. And then but most of the media I consume, I don't think has that stuff, unfortunately. But some of it does, and it does make me a little happy, but not like extremely happy because it's so small. It's such a small amount. So I'm like, this could be more. It could be more common. So I'll probably it'll probably become more common someday, and I'll probably look back and be like, thank goodness.
Is there anything in particular that you watch or you read that that you really like?
I don't know if I want to mention it because
It's okay if you don't want to.
There are some games, but they are a little strange. Not in that way. Just a little like in the, like a random way. And there are a lot of strange jokes in there, so I don't think I want to mention that.
No, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
So it sounds like did religion not play a role in your life growing up?
I mean, with my trans and queerness, no. But with other things, a little bit. Not that much, though. Like, with religion, I did grow up with participating in religion, and I do get pressured into certain religions sometimes by my parents. Growing up, I went to temples and stuff for the Hindu religion, and I did enjoy it, but I never connected with it completely. And even now, sometimes, one of my parents tell me, you should pray. You should pray, pray that things go well and all that stuff. And when I say, oh, no, thank you, but good luck, I'm told, you should, don't do that and stuff, and it's not fun.
So you feel a lot of pressure.
Yeah, just basically pressure.
So do you think your family's religions have influenced how they react to gender? Like your the way you express your gender and the way that I guess the question is, do you think religion has influenced your family's thinking around gender and gender identity, gender expression, and sexual orientation?
For me personally, not really that much. I don't think there's much binary in the Hindu religion, and my other parent, there's not really any specific religion going on there. But on the parent side, with not very much specific religion going on, there actually is a lot of Christianity, just not with the parent, just with the parent's family. There's a lot of Christianity. which ties back to earlier when I said they grew up more traditionally. I think that is what helped lock them into that traditional mindset and like keep their mind really closed for a long time. But after discovering more things has just helped open their mind a little more. And after not being involved with Christian stuff anymore, not saying you can't be open-minded and Christian, you can be, but like in this specific case, after learning more about stuff, they have opened their mind a little bit more. So yeah, that's good.
Anything else you want to say about the influence of religion on your life before we move on?
Not really. There really wasn't that much influence of religion in my life.
So the next section is about disability, mental health, and neurodiversity.
Mhm.
So can you talk about the impact of? I mean, do you define yourself as neurodivergent?
I don't know if I would actually count as that. What is neurodivergent counted as?
Well, it can have a broad definition. I mean, I think a lot of people think of like autism, but it also could be other things like anxiety, things like bipolar disorder, any kind of thing something that affects the way that you think and the way that you feel sort of outside of the norm of what society considers normal, right? Quote unquote normal.
Oh yeah, I do feel very different from others because of my disorders and stuff like that. I noticed that I'm a lot more awkward at times and can make situations awkward very fast. And people can get a little uncomfortable around me because of my awkwardness, which is just stemmed from anxiety. I have things that I get really deep into, like media and stuff. I'm not autistic, but I do get really deep into media, and I don't know why. And people can be like, that's kind of weird. That's kind of, I like that media too, but not that much. Geez, calm down and stuff. Or they can see it as childish, which I don't really like being called that. I'm seen as childish a lot because of the way I act. Like, I have these like stims or whatever they call them, where I'll like make noises or like hum or like or like make animal noises, and people think that's really childish. What the heck? And they just treat me as such. And I'm like, no, no, I don't know why I do that. It just calms me down. So, but I swear I'm not a little kid. Yeah. And some of the media I like too is a little bit kid-like, and I don't want it to be seen that way. I'm an adult. I'm an adult. I don't want to be seen as a kid because of the things I like and take interest in and the noises I make sometimes. Yeah.
So how does being neurodivergent or having the sort of what you listed off, like having anxiety, maybe PTSD and so on, how does that affect you in general and then your education in particular?
In general, anxiety makes me seem really closed off. Like sometimes my body language seems really closed off, and I'm aware of it, but I do that because it makes me feel safer. It makes me feel a little bit less nervous, because if I get too nervous, I'm just gonna like, when is it when computers like shut down? It's like that. I'm like system overload, and then I just shut down completely. Or sometimes I'll space out and I'll just stay like that for literally minutes straight. Like one time it happened for 10 minutes straight, and sometimes it looks like I'm staring at people, which is kind of awkward. I completely forgot the question. What's happening?
Just how it affects you in
All right.
general and your education in particular.
Okay, all right. I also forget things a lot. That's one of them because, which I believe is from the PTSD. I do forget things a lot. The spacing out is probably from the anxiety and stuff like that. Uh, and a lot of times, people just think I'm not paying attention and don't care, but I do care, and I do try to pay attention. It's just I'm really bad at it because of these things. Uh, it has affected my education because there's certain things that no matter how hard I try, I can't memorize it, and I don't know why. Like I try really, really hard to memorize it. I study the day before, and then when it comes to the actual thing, I just completely blank out. Whether it's because of anxiety or I just can't memorize things in general for some reason. And there aren't really any solutions to that besides like study guides. But then you can't bring the study guide to the test because that would give you advantage over other students. So some solutions for that would maybe be good. That would be nice, but I can't think of any, unfortunately.
When you think about classes that you've done well in, what have those classes been like? What has the professor done to sort of help you learn?
Classes I've done good in. Those classes are normally classes that sometimes the professors are really easy and like let you use study guides on the test, which normally is taboo and seen as cheating. But I find that that really helps, and they make you write down your own information on the study guides. They don't make them for you. They make you write down your own information, and then they let you use that. I've also had something similar where you can write down notes on a small index paper, like as much as you can fit on there, and then you can use that on the test. Those are really useful because of my bad memory. But I understand that maybe not for every class that can be, but I wish I wish that would be really useful.
Next semester I teach a women's history class, and I don't have any. Well, I do have multiple choice quizzes, but they're open note, and you can take them a couple of times. And then in my queer studies class, there's no exams whatsoever. Would consider that.
Maybe if I'm not too packed, I'll consider it.
They both fulfill general ed requirements that you would likely need if you're not fulfilling them in other ways.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like a lot of students don't know that, especially about the queer studies class.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Oh, yeah, I'll look into that, definitely. I'll talk with the counselor, too. Maybe they can help out.
Anything else you can think that professors could do in their class to help you learn to do well in their classes, considering what you were just saying about anxiety and memory?
Oh, yeah. Maybe just patience in general, because there are some, not from my school, not from ARC, but in the past I've come across teachers who were very impatient and just assumed that I was like the average student and could just follow what they're saying. So every time I got like distracted, they would like yell at me, which wasn't, don't do that. Basically, treat your students with respect, try to understand. I know there's a lot of students, I know there's a lot of things to do as a professor, but maybe just a little bit of patience could help. And let's see. Professors normally don't have assigned seats, right?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, so never mind.
You don't like assigned seating? Were you going to say that?
Yeah. Yeah. Assigned seating, if a student asks to move to the back, maybe consider it if they're like a student with anxiety, because normally, or like letting the student sit where they feel comfortable, because normally they're just trying to sit in an area where they feel safe so that they can focus on the work. I think that's it.
So trust students that they know what their needs are and don't assume that they have bad intentions.
Yeah, just try your best to trust students first. Yeah.
So how do you think your mental health issues shape your experiences as somebody who's also queer and trans? And so how, yeah, and vice versa. So how does being queer shape your experiences with mental health?
I think it makes my mental health worse, but not necessarily because I'm queer, but because of the stigma around it. People not being as accepting, people being iffy about queer people, queer trans people, that definitely makes my mental health worse and gives me a little less hope in life, which is not fun. It doesn't really help, and then sometimes my mental health can affect that too, because I think, what if I were normal? What if I were cis? Maybe I should try that. And it's stupid. It sounds stupid, but to me it sounds stupid. But when you're really desperate, sometimes it seems like it makes sense. But yeah, sometimes my mental health can really get to me and make me reconsider everything. But then I see positive experiences and I think, well, maybe it's okay. Maybe it's alright. Because with all the negative stuff happening with LGBTQ plus people and just everyone in general, all the negative stuff happening, that can really put people down. Make people feel down. I mean, but I think with the right environment, like, it's okay to know about the negative things happening, but I think it's also good to have a balance of positive things. So I wish people could show more positive things happening to give people more hope.
Yeah, I think the context, the political climate right now, there's a backlash against trans rights and queer rights
across the country.
Has that had an effect on you?
Definitely. Because I've heard in the past that it wasn't really that big of a deal. People were more accepting, surprisingly. But, like, over time, people started having a problem with it for some reason. And they're, like, really violent about it now. And it does scare me. It has made me consider staying in the closet before. But it also kind of makes me feel like if I stay in the closet, it won't get any better. So maybe I should be a little, even though I can't be completely open, at least being a little bit open might make a little bit of a difference, because then it can help normalize it a little more. Because I think with my friends, my cis straight friends, I think they've learned a little more about LGBTQ plus people by being friends with them. Just by being friends with them. And if I weren't to do that, they wouldn't have really learned much. And then, yeah. I think that definitely helps.
So, I know you haven't been at ARC for very long, but as far as I know, the district and the college administrators have not acknowledged the political context, the political climate that we're in. That's very, unfortunately, very anti-trans and anti-queer. Do you think it would be helpful if the administration actually said something?
Oh, that would be lovely. I would love for them to, like, say something and show support towards trans and LGBTQ plus people in general. That would be really nice. I'm glad they have gender neutral bathrooms though, which I actually wasn't aware of until recently. I wish they would, like, make that more known. Basically, they just need to be a little louder about their support. They are pretty supportive, but they don't. It's a little quiet. They need to raise the volume.
I think that's a good way to say it. Raise the volume. So, do you identify as biracial?
Biracial? I identify as mixed race because I'm actually not completely sure about my can I say colored side? About my colored side.
Your side that is not white, or
yeah,
maybe it's better to say your people of color side.
My person of color side.
Yeah.
My person of color side. I'm not completely sure if it's just the things I mentioned earlier. So, and on my white side, there's also a lot going on there. So I just say mixed race to make it more broad, so that I'm not putting myself within two races.
Oh, because if you say biracial, it makes it seem like you.
Like it's just Indian and white, but I feel like it's more than that.
Okay. So, how do you think your experiences have been shaped by your racial and ethnic identities?
What was the question again?
It's a very broad one.
The
More specific I can, but how do you think your experiences have been shaped by your racial and ethnic identities?
Oh, in the beginning, when I was much younger, I didn't really understand people who got discriminated against, even though literally I was one of them. I always thought they were being over dramatic and stuff. And then whenever I got discriminated against, I just thought it was normal. I didn't think anything about it. I laughed it off. And then as time went on, I started to realize people who get discriminated against and also speak out about it, they're doing the right thing. I was doing the wrong thing by being quiet about it and like brushing it off. I was just feeding into those who are discriminating against people and writing it off as a joke. So that has led to me becoming more proud of who I am, and I'm still learning about who I am because I've just started being proud of who I am, which is kind of sad because I wish I could have done it earlier. I've always been whitewashed. I've been whitewashed. Like I used to kind of participate in culture, but over time that washed away, and I became more Americanized, quote unquote, and I more participated in that culture and preferred that culture over. But now that I see other people are participating in their own cultures, and there's no issue with it, I'm like, heck yeah. And then now I want to do that too, and I would like to be proud of both of my sides, honestly. I don't want to be ashamed of either of them. Let's see. Oh yeah, I have been insulted. I am half white, but I have been insulted because I look like a person of color. So I've been called a lot of things. And I have been stereotyped a lot, which is not, it's not good. Like a lot of the times people stereotype Indian people as like engineers and stuff, which might sound good, but it can be, or like really nerdy smart people. It sounds good, but it's also not good at all because that's like putting a standard on someone. And what if they're not that? You're just gonna say, "Oh, so you're like the engineering Indian thing," and then they're like, "Oh," and then you're just putting that pressure on them to be that, but then they're not. Like it's okay to not be. It's okay to be like Indian and not an engineer. Like what if they're Indian and like they like I don't know, dancing and singing? Yeah, it's okay. And so yeah, and then those experiences have made me realize that people who are discriminated against have a right to speak out about it, and that the way they handle it. No, wait, no. Yeah, they have a right to speak out about it, and it's okay. They shouldn't be quiet about it because it's ridiculous and it's really tiring.
So, in what ways do you think you are kind of learning about your Indian side, right? And are you like learning about your culture?
Right now, even though I'm not religious, religion is a big part of it. So I think learning about that part would be important. So I've been looking into that stuff, and I've been trying to learn different names of foods, basically really simple stuff, just to start out and make it easy for me to get into it. But there's not really much else I've been doing yet. But someday I hope to be able to attend events related to that culture and stuff.
Did you grow up eating Indian food?
Oh yeah, yeah, I did. I grew up on it, but over time I started eating less. But now I'm eating more again.
Do you come from an immigrant family?
Um, on one side, yes. On the other side, no.
How do you think your experiences have been shaped? Are you second generation immigrant?
Um, I don't know. It's kind of complicated because some people on one side of the family are like have been here for a while, but also my parent immigrated here recent, like from in the 1980s or something like that. So it's kind of complicated. So I don't know. I don't know how to word it. I don't know.
So how do you think your experiences have been influenced by the fact that you have one parent that immigrated to the United States?
There haven't really been any different experience like since that parent immigrated like a long time ago. They got used to the culture and the American culture, and they've like completely adapted into it. But they do still keep some of the other culture, and luckily because of that, I have gotten to experience some of my Indian culture, which I'm really happy about, and I just need to get more into that.
Do you have family members in India?
No, I do in Fiji, but most my family members are spread out all across the world, like in different countries and stuff. They all moved to different countries. I don't know if there's any in India. I've never been told. Like that side doesn't really talk much about it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Have you been learning about what it means to be Fiji? Have family from Fiji? Fijian?
No. I probably should touch that though. Yeah, I would like to learn that.
It's hard. I feel like a lot of people feel very much pressured to Americanize, and then sort of when that happens, then you lose a part of yourself, right? You lose some of your culture, and then you have to kind of come back around and relearn stuff that you shouldn't have lost in the first place.
Yeah, I want to relearn everything. That would be nice because I feel kind of weird being completely Americanized. I don't like it at all. But then I kind of feel weird going back to it because I feel like I'm so Americanized I don't belong in the culture anymore. But at the same time, I don't. I want to get back into the culture. So I don't know. It's tough.
So how do you think your racial and ethnic identity shapes your queerness?
Oh, I think it definitely gave me courage to be a little bit more open about my queerness. Because, as I said earlier, growing up discriminated against and learning that it's okay to speak out against that has transferred onto my queerness. So now I'm like fighting for both, both racial equality and LGBTQ plus equality. So yeah, it's just empowered me a little.
Have you learned anything about queerness within your culture, like the Indian culture?
Very little. It's not really talked about very much. Like I've only found one video from YouTube about it, and it was talking about trans women from India, and I don't really remember much about it. But it's not talked about much at all. But knowing that it does exist somewhere, it makes me relieved a little.
So I'll ask some follow-up questions when we get to education about race and ethnicity, but is there anything else you want to say in response to, or anything you want to elaborate on right now before going on to talking about class a little bit?
I don't think so, unless there was something you wanted me to elaborate on.
I'll ask more questions later, I think. So how would you define your economic class status?
It's a little complicated, but mostly middle class. One parent's middle class, one parent's really poor. we both rely on the middle class parent. So I would say I'm middle class. Uh, I've been lucky enough to grow up in a home without worrying about food, water, and all that stuff. But at the same time, I have been a little worried because my other parent is poor, and sometimes my middle class parent has threatened to kick us out. So I was like, oh, and we do rely on food stamps because my middle class parent doesn't really want to pay for our food. Well, my middle class parent wouldn't mind. I don't know how to describe it. Independence, basically. My poor parent doesn't want to be dependent on my middle class parent. So we at least pay for food and stuff. But without my middle class parent, we would be in like a deep poverty probably. But other than that, I was really lucky to grow up privileged and comfortable.
Feel free not to answer the question if you'd rather not answer, but are your parents divorced?
Oh, they never married.
Okay.
They're separated, but my poor parent lives with my middle class parent because my poor parent would be homeless otherwise. So, and my middle class parent hasn't kicked my poor parent out for some reason, which I'm glad. I love both of my parents.
So do you have any concerns about your financial well-being right now or in the present?
Right now, no. But if I were to move out, which I definitely plan to, I do worry a lot on how I'm going to be able to just survive in general. Like how I'm going to be able to pay for basic things like transport, housing, all that stuff, because the economy is like so messed up that you can barely afford an apartment. So I am really worried about that. And if I don't get out, I don't think, I don't know. I have to get out someday, so I would really like to. If I don't, I'll be miserable.
Do you get financial aid?
Financially from the school?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And that pays for your classes?
Yeah, without it, I probably would be done for.
So have you ever worked for a wage?
No.
Okay. And so you're hoping to find a job?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can find one. Like, I literally at this point would take anything.
And why are you so interested in getting a job?
Because I want to move out as soon as possible. I want to be able to live freely. That would be nice. And I just don't want to spend all my parents' money. I don't want to do that anymore. They've raised me. They shouldn't have to do that. That's just my personal thing.
Okay, so I want to move on to talking more about education. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but I have this whole education section. So this is a very big question that I like to start with. Can you tell me a little about your educational journey from high school to the present?
From high school to the present. Well, it won't be that big because most of it was COVID, online COVID stuff. In high school, I don't know. I didn't really struggle in high school. The only thing I did was struggle socially, but educationally, I did really good. Even during the COVID, the whole COVID thing and online schooling. Even though I slept through most of my classes, I still magically got A's. I don't know how. Yeah, and then even when I was at the end of high school, I was struggling to get through because I was tired, but I did it and I passed with good grades. And presently, I'm doing much better than I was in high school. Like mentally, I'm really happy to not be in high school anymore. College is definitely much more free and just better in general. Well, not in price, but you know what I mean. Just in scheduling and all that stuff. I'm so happy I don't have to wake up at 7 a.m. anymore. I'm just really, it's going good.
In high school, did you struggle in any of your classes? Like, did you fail or get low grades?
Oh, yeah, I did get low grades in, math, but that's because of my memorization issue, just my memory in general. But other than that, I did really good. Oh, except for PE because I'm out of shape.
So what was it like knowing that you were queer in high school, whether or not you were out?
Knowing it, honestly, I was kind of like, oh no, because the high school I went to, they allegedly were open about that stuff, but at the same time, there were students going around saying the F slur when they weren't supposed to. So I wasn't really sure. I felt unsafe, and I didn't plan to tell anyone. But I did end up telling people, and it did go well. But I still didn't feel safe enough to use the restroom I felt like I belonged to, so I would go into the women's restroom instead to use the restroom. Like, I just felt scared about using the bathroom, so it probably wasn't that good. If I feel scared to use the bathroom, it probably wasn't as safe as I feel like, as I'm trying to, no, as I'm saying. Yeah.
Do you think were staff and teachers supportive of queer and trans students?
Like actively supportive?
Actively supportive? I think they were neutral. I don't think there was really any like bad stuff, but there was also they didn't really seem to care too much, so yeah. They were just kinda okay. And that was literally it.
Were there any faculty or staff that were queer themselves?
I think there was literally one teacher, as far as I know, and he was gay. Yeah, that's it. Just one, literally just one. And even then, he was a little iffy, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you say that? Do you mind elaborating?
He was the administrator of the GSA club that I mentioned from my high school, the one where I didn't really fit in. And in that club, I did shut down because no one was really talking to me, even though I was trying. And I guess maybe I looked angry or something when I shut down, but he made a comment saying must be a homophobic one or something like that, and I was like, oh, and then I just left. It was not good.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, it was not a fun experience.
So were any of your classes in high school inclusive of queer and trans people's experiences?
In world history, we had like not even the whole chapter, like one page, this, talking very briefly about Stonewall, and that was when we were talking about the civil rights movement. There was only one page about Stonewall, and that was it. That was literally nothing else in any other subject or anywhere.
Did your teacher even bring that up in class?
Yeah, my teacher did, and it was really short, and after that, it wasn't brought up again for some reason.
And right now in college, are you taking any classes so far that have been inclusive of queer and trans people's experiences?
Not yet, no. But I plan to in the future.
So upon reflection, I know you're still 18, but and you have a whole college career ahead of you, which is really nice. But how does it feel to kind of, upon reflection, think about the fact that
queerness was just totally left out of the curriculum?
It definitely prolonged my journey. It definitely didn't it definitely wasn't helpful to not hear about that stuff. And I wish we did hear more about that stuff, because I feel like if we did, maybe the students would be more open-minded as well and wouldn't call people the F-slur. That would be nice. And I feel like it would help people have more understanding, would have helped me have more understanding of both myself and others. I just think it would be, and staff too. Like, staff knowing about it too, maybe they would have been more patient or understanding and supportive. That would have been nice. But other than that, yeah, just in general, it would have helped a lot.
So you say that you would like maybe to take a class in the future that, at least in part, or maybe even wholly, focuses on queer topics.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think you want to do that?
Well, to me, it's better than just a regular general education class because after learning that it could count as one, I would like to learn more about that stuff because one, it makes me feel more included. Two, it just sounds fun. I don't know. It just sounds fun learning about that stuff, and I'm interested in it.
So have faculty at ARC so far, have they done anything in your classes? So even if those classes are not focused on queer and trans topics, have they done anything in particular to make you feel included and welcome?
My teacher, professors, one of my professors, when I told them about my chosen name and stuff, they accepted it, and they don't make me feel any different at all. They just treat me like any other student, which makes me really happy. And there was actually a time where another student they were giving a presentation, and they mentioned their child who uses they/them pronouns, and they kept slipping up by accident, which happens. And my teacher actually made it like an announcement. Sorry, my professor made an announcement saying that it happens sometimes. It's okay. It's best to correct it and stuff. And so that made me happy.
What class is this?
It's HCD. Let's see, college.
Oh, Human Career Development.
No.
HCD.
Shoot. It's one of those college help classes, like one of those classes where it helps you learn skills and stuff for college.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I think those are HCD, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's HCD.
Strange name, Human Career Development.
Yeah, that's why I was like, no, I didn't realize that's what it meant. Oh my goodness.
So tell me if I've asked this already, but so far this semester have professors shared their pronouns with students and asked students to do the same?
Oh, no, not yet. It would be nice if they did though. That would be lovely. If they asked like everyone and if they announced their own, that would be good.
But why do you think it would be nice?
It would be easier to tell people my pronouns, and I wouldn't have to worry as much about them getting it wrong. And it would also, having everyone do it instead of just specific students, that would be nice too, because it would feel more normal and feel more just inclusive in general, and it would be nice.
Are there any circumstances in which you wouldn't really want to share your pronouns in that context in which everybody's sharing their pronouns, the professor is sharing their pronoun?
No, I'd be fine with it. Unless the professor was like, ooh, trans people, then maybe not. But I haven't come across that so far, so I don't see an issue.
So I guess have you taken classes either in high school or in college so far that are inclusive of the Asian Indian experience, the multiracial experience?
I haven't heard of any classes about that, and I've never learned anything about that ever. Like, not even in high school they've mentioned it. They just never mentioned it. I don't know why. So I've never, like, maybe it's not that significant, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I've never heard of any classes about that in high school or in college. So.
Well, there's not an insignificant number of people who are from Southeast Asia.
Yeah, no.
From South Asia.
There's a lot of people who are from South Asia. I don't know why they don't do anything for that.
Would you like to be in a class and sort of unexpectedly maybe experience, South Asian history, culture, literature? Would you like to learn about that in the classroom setting?
Yeah, that would be nice. That would definitely help me learn more about it instead of doing it all on my own. Having classes like that would be pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah, there's sort of this common experience, right, for queer students. I would say Asian American Pacific Islander students in general, where there's a lot of having to learn stuff on your own about your identities because it's not in the curriculum. And when you have to struggle on your own in that way, it can be difficult.
Yeah, I don't. I think with that stuff, they just don't think about it at all. They just think of us, USA. So yeah, they don't really think about the different people in the U.S. They just think of the U.S. as a whole, which is probably why they teach U.S. history and just basically all classes are just U.S. history classes for the most part. So yeah, I wish they went more into the different citizens in the U.S. and like all the origins and stuff. That would be nice.
Yeah, and what you said before, you said, oh, maybe it's not significant, right? So with that exclusion, even though there is significance there, the exclusion makes you question whether or not your different parts of your identity are actually important, right?
Yeah, it makes me question if it like played any part in history or anything because of the lack of classes. Like, I don't know what's going on there at all. Like, I know absolutely nothing about that stuff. Um, like they don't talk. Well, I do know one thing. They never mention how the British, like even over. They normally talk about how the British take over different places. They never mention like the British took Fiji at some point. Uh, so it does make me feel like there's not very many events, but like that's a pretty big event. So I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, South Asia is also very, very populated. If you're talking about world history, and then there's significant immigrant groups, right, to the 19th century in the U.S.
Yeah, it's very populated. There are a lot of immigrants from there, and yet the only time it's mentioned is when Christopher Columbus messed up and didn't go there. So that's yeah,
That's a good point.
yeah.
What do you think faculty can do in general to make queer and trans students feel respected in the classroom?
Acknowledging their existence for one, letting known that they support us, um, letting known that discrimination against us won't be tolerated. Just basic things like that would be a great start. And maybe sometimes, once in a while, if they can, mentioning stuff in the curriculum about different types of people. And yeah, that's all I can think of. There's probably more, but yeah, I can't think of anything right now.
So how are you doing in your classes this semester?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you getting A's?
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I have no complaints there. There's nothing.
So what's been your experience so far on campus?
Experience on campus so far. I've felt pretty safe on campus. Like I haven't come across any issues. I've used the bathroom I feel comfortable with, which is the men's bathroom, and no one says anything. I don't think they care. And it just, I don't know, I feel really comfortable so far. Hopefully it stays that way though.
Do you utilize the Pride Center?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I go to GSA for it and stuff, and I've used the counseling. I've asked for a counseling appointment before. It's really useful. They're really helpful over there.
Who's the counselor for the Pride Center?
I think there might be multiple, but I know one of them is named Judy Mays, maybe, perhaps? Yeah. Yeah, that's the counselor I've worked with so far. And she's helped me. Or I don't know pronouns. They helped me.
Was that through the Unite Center in general, or through the Pride Center in particular?
I think that was through the Pride Center. Yeah.
And why do you think it's important for the Pride Center to exist, to be fully staffed and funded?
Because if it didn't, not all, but the queer students in there, they would probably feel like they don't really have a place to go. They wouldn't know how to meet other queer people. It would probably feel a little lost without it. Personally, without it, I would feel kind of lonely because I've made most of my friends through there, and without that, I don't know. I wouldn't feel as included. But the Pride Center, having it there, it's really helpful. It really makes me feel comfortable with the school a little more. I've learned a lot of resources through there. Let's see what else. The counseling thing I mentioned. Just a lot. I like the community.
Does the existence of the Pride Center and the community that you found so far on campus, does that help you feel more invested in your education, make you want to come to campus more?
Oh yeah, it makes me actually excited about school, because normally, like back in high school, I hated going to school. Like I had no reason to be excited about it, but it makes me actually happy to go to school, and it makes me feel like school isn't a bad thing to go to, and it helps a lot. And it makes it more fun and stuff.
So is there anything you think the college could do to make trans and queer students feel more included? You mentioned a little bit about bathrooms and raising the volume and stuff, but...
Oh, yeah. Basically, as I said earlier, more open support about it, defending trans and LGBTQ students in general, definitely making it known that there's gender-neutral bathrooms, because I wasn't the only one who didn't know. There's a lot of people from the GSA who didn't know either until recently. And just basically putting the resources out there would be nice. And maybe, like, more flyers about it. I don't know, putting them on those little bulletin boards that are around the campus, so then people can find their way over there if they need to.
One student mentioned that maybe the gender-neutral bathrooms can be put on the general campus map.
Yeah. I don't think they had those on the map, so I think I agree with that student. Putting them on the map would be good.
At SEC, they have somebody who's queer who's a mental health counselor specifically.
Oh.
And we don't have that at ARC. Is that something that you think might be valuable?
I don't know, might be. I haven't checked out the mental health counselors yet.
Yeah.
But just having mental health counselors is already useful, so maybe like queer-based ones too would be good.
Why do you think that?
Because sometimes people who aren't specialized or like aren't queer themselves don't really understand the experiences and might give the wrong advice or help when Christians might need a different help. And so I think having people who have that experience with queerness in general, LGBTQ plus stuff, I think that would be useful, because there are a lot of queer students on campus.
So what do you think motivates you to learn in the classroom?
Motivates me to learn. Definitely the professors. Their positive attitudes and stuff. That's nice. The work isn't too difficult, and because of the professors, actually, they teach well. And so I think a professor that teaches in a way that all students can understand and also has a positive attitude definitely helps. And I forgot the question. What was the question?
The question was, so what? Oh, now I forgot my own question.
Oh, shoot.
What motivates you to learn? That was the question.
All right. And also knowing the resources that can help with learning, that definitely motivates me. It lets me know that I do have a chance of learning just like anyone else. Uh, and it lets me know that it's okay that I learn different from other people as well. Yeah.
And then I guess what are you like? What makes you excited about being a college student? You talked about it a little bit.
I also like the social events they have at college. That definitely helps too. Uh, it makes me more. It helps me get closer to the community in general. Um, and knowing that there are a lot of resources makes me feel cared about a little more, which is lovely because in high school they really did not care about their students as much. So knowing that college kind of cares a little more is good. Um, let's see. Oh, one example. Them shutting down Davies Hall, even though they didn't have to. That made me that definitely helped with helping me feel a little safer on campus. Because we won't be crushed. That's great. Yay!
You don't want to go down with the building in the earthquake?
No, I love that building, but no, not that much. I'm glad they shut it down when the second they were told that. That made me happy.
So what's next for you after ARC? I know you just started, so maybe it feels a little early to be asking that question. But what are you hoping to do after ARC?
I'm hoping to get a job from my major because I don't need a transfer to a 4-year university. So I want to get a job first, and then after I'm in that job for a while, maybe I get a little financially comfortable. Hopefully, I plan to go to a 4-year university to get a higher degree because why not? And plus, people like people with higher degrees, so yeah.
Okay, I guess any other questions you'd like to, or any questions I've asked that you want to return to, or anything you want to add?
No, I think I'm good.
Great. Well, thank you for taking all this time.
No problem.